The village of Kampung, Seribu, nestled in the heart of Malaysia, was a place where the fog of the past seemed to linger in the air like the scent of jasmine flowers. Its residents, bound to the rhythms of nature, lived simple lives governed by tradition. The houses, built of wood and thatch, were scattered among lush green hills, and the surrounding jungle whispered secrets that had been passed down through generations. Here, the balance between the living and the spirits of the dead was delicate, and the villagers respected the old ways with reverence, for they knew that in honoring tradition, they honored the very fabric of life itself. At the center of this village lived Lin Mei, a young woman known for her grace and quiet beauty. She had grown up in the village, the daughter of humble rice farmers, and though they weren't wealthy, her family had a good reputation. Lin Mei's father, Old Huang, was a respected elder in the village, wise and kind, and her mother, Mei Lan, was a gentle soul who passed down to her daughter all the wisdom of womanhood. Lin Mei had known her future husband, Li Wei, since childhood. The two families had made arrangements for their marriage when Lin Mei was just a child, and as they grew older, a deep and genuine affection bloomed between them. Li Wei was kind-hearted, with a quiet strength and a playful smile that made Lin Mei's heart flutter. He was everything Lin Mei had hoped for in a partner, and their union was to be celebrated as a joyous occasion by all in the village. The day before their wedding, the village was alive with excitement. The sounds of drums and flutes filled the air, signaling the beginning of the wedding festivities. Lin Mei's house was adorned with red banners and lanterns, a symbol of happiness and prosperity. The scent of incense and flowers wafted through the village, and the preparations were in full swing. But amid the joy, a shadow hung over Lin Mei's heart. There was a feeling of unease, a foreboding that she couldn't shake. She couldn't explain it, but it felt as though something were about to change, something that would turn the world upside down. As night fell and the wedding preparations continued, a terrible tragedy struck. Li Wei, while traveling back from a neighboring town, had been involved in a devastating accident. The roads, slick with rain, had been treacherous, and his vehicle had collided with a tree. When the news reached Lin Mei's family, the world as she knew it shattered. The wedding was called off, and the village fell into a mournful silence. Lin Mei's heart, once full of excitement and anticipation, now felt hollow. Her beloved Li Wei was gone, and with his passing, her hopes for the future crumbled. She could not comprehend the cruel twist of fate that had taken him away so suddenly. Days passed in a blur of sorrow, but amidst her grief, Lin Mei's family, bound by the deep traditions of their ancestors, spoke of the ancient custom known as the GhostBride ceremony. This practice, though long forgotten by many, was still observed by the village's elders. It was said that when a person died before marriage could be completed, their spirit would be unable to rest unless a marriage ritual was performed in their honor. In this rare and solemn custom, the deceased would be married to a living woman, often chosen by the family of the deceased. The woman would then act as a bride to the spirit, ensuring that the soul of the departed would move on to the afterlife in peace. Lin Mei was horrified when her parents explained that she was to fulfill this role for Li Wei's spirit. Her father, a man of great respect in the village, insisted that the marriage must be performed, or else Li Wei's soul would be condemned to wander restlessly between the worlds of the living and the dead. The promise between their families, made long ago, must be kept, for breaking it would bring dishonor to their name. Lin Mei, torn between love and duty, could not refuse. Her heart ached at the thought of marrying a spirit, but she knew that to disregard her family's wishes would bring untold misfortune. She had no choice but to accept her fate. The preparations for the ghost marriage were solemn and filled with a sense of dread. The elders of the village, with their wise, lined faces, gathered to perform the ritual. The ceremony was to take place under the cover of night, when the veil between the worlds of the living and the dead was at its thinnest. Lin Mei, dressed in a simple red wedding gown, sat at the altar in her family's home. The room was dimly lit by flickering candles, their flames dancing nervously in the still air. The chanting of the elders filled the room, their voices steady and rhythmic as they called upon the spirits of the ancestors to witness this sacred ritual. The scent of incense hung thick in the air, and Lin Mei could feel the oppressive weight of the ceremony, the very air pressing down on her chest as though the spirits themselves were watching. As the ritual reached its peak, Lin Mei felt a strange sensation, a coldness creeping along her skin. It was as though the room had grown darker and an unearthly presence surrounded her. She could not see it, but she could feel it, the weight of Li Wei's spirit in the room. His presence was palpable, filling every corner of the house. It was as if the very walls breathed with him. A chill ran down her spine, and for a moment, Lin Mei feared she would lose her sanity. But the ceremony continued, and at last, the elders concluded their prayers, marking the marriage between Lin Mei and the spirit of Li Wei. The days that followed were filled with an unsettling calm. The village, though aware of the ceremony, carried on with their daily lives, and Lin Mei was left alone in her house, now married to a spirit. It was then that the haunting began. At night, Lin Mei could hear strange noises, scraping sounds, soft footsteps, whispers that seemed to come from the walls themselves. The house, once a place of comfort, had become a prison, and Lin Mei could not escape the presence of Li Wei's ghost. Her dreams became restless. Every night, she would find herself standing at the edge of a dark forest, calling out for Li Wei, but he would never answer, and the silence that followed felt suffocating. Then she would hear his voice, faint and distant, calling her name. Lin Mei, Lin Mei, his voice echoed in her mind, and she would wake up heart-pounding, drenched in sweat. Each time, she felt his presence grow stronger, his longing more desperate. One night, as Lin Mei lay in bed, she heard a soft knock on her door. Her heart raced, and she hesitated. When she opened the door, there was no one there, but the air was thick with an unnatural cold. She stepped back into her room, and to her horror, she saw Li Wei's figure standing at the foot of her bed. His form was pale, his face twisted with sorrow. His eyes, once warm and full of life, were now hollow and empty. Lin Mei's breath caught in her throat as his voice echoed in her mind, though his lips did not move. "Lin Mei," he whispered, "I am not at peace. I cannot rest, not until our bond is complete. You must marry me, not just in spirit, but in truth. Only then can I be free." Lin Mei's body trembled with fear, but there was something else, something that told her that this was not the end, that Li Wei's spirit needed her to help him move on. She couldn't deny it any longer. She had been married to him in name, but not in heart. Only by truly accepting him could she set him free. Desperate for guidance, Lin Mei sought out the village shaman, an ancient man who had lived through many lifetimes and had deep knowledge of the supernatural. The shaman listened intently to her tale, his face somber. After a long silence, he spoke. "The GhostBride ceremony alone cannot bring peace to a restless spirit," the shaman explained. "It is only when the living bride offers her heart, her love, to the spirit that the bond is complete. Your heart must truly accept Li Wei as your husband, not just in duty, but in love. Only then can his soul rest." The shaman instructed Lin Mei to perform a final ritual, one that would bind her heart to Li Wei's spirit. She would need to offer her true love to him, unconditionally, and only then would the restless energy in their home be calmed. But it would be no easy task. Lin Mei would need to open her heart, to remember the love they had shared, and to let go of her fears. For the next few days, Lin Mei prepared herself for the ritual. She gathered sacred objects, lighted incense, and practiced calming her mind. Her heart, though still heavy with sorrow, began to open as she reflected on the love she had shared with Li Wei. She remembered his laughter, his kindness, and his promise to always be by her side. Slowly, she began to understand that love, even in death, could transcend boundaries. On the night of the ritual, Lin Mei dressed in a simple white dress, symbolizing her acceptance of Li Wei's spirit. She stood before the altar, a deep sense of peace filling her as she closed her eyes and spoke her vows. With each word, she offered her heart to him, not as a duty, but as a true act of love. As the ritual concluded, the air in the room shifted. The coldness lifted, and Lin Mei felt a warm presence surround her. Li Wei's spirit, once tormented, now seemed at peace. The whispering winds that haunted her were silenced, and the house, once filled with eerie shadows, was now calm. The following morning, Lin Mei woke with a sense of clarity. She felt that Li Wei's spirit had finally found peace, and the weight that had hung over her for so long was gone. The strange occurrences ceased, and her home felt whole once more. Lin Mei had fulfilled her duty, not just as a bride, but as a loving partner to the spirit of Li Wei. Though the village never knew the depths of Lin Mei's journey, she carried with her the knowledge that love could transcend life and death. The GhostBride legend continued to be told in the village, but Lin Mei's story was one of redemption. It was a reminder that true peace, whether for the living or the dead, could only come from the heart.